Welcome back to Problematic Women, where we give you this week's updates with a pulse on politics and pop culture. Here's what we're going to talk about today. First off, we're going to react to a crazy protester that I saw at Union Station. I wonder if you've seen this video. I've surely made you guys watch this video. So we're going to react to their craziness in reaction to Trump's federalization of police in DC. It's been 2 weeks since that happened, and it's been amazing. Also this week with Trump, he had some key meetings with Zelenskyy and Putin. Is an end finally in sight for the Russia and Ukraine war? Look, I don't know, but what I do know is that Democrats are so unpopular right now, and they're cosplaying conservatism, which just doesn't really work. From Gavin Newsom to Travis Kelce. And with us today to break it all down, we have Reagan Reese, the White House correspondent for the Daily Caller, and welcome back to Problematic Women. Welcome back. I'm Elise McHugh.
I'm Virginia Allen.
I'm Crystal Bonham.
And with us, we have Reagan Reese, the awesome White House correspondent with the Daily Caller. Been the White House correspondent for how many years now?
It's been 2.
That's crazy.
So I believe I started this week 2 years ago.
Oh my gosh, congrats.
I know.
You've seen Biden, you've seen Trump, and now you get to see our new studio. Also, we're in a new studio, guys. So if you're not watching on YouTube or Rumble, feel free to join us. But
I was going to ask if it was all for me because I was off the grid last week in Vermont, which 10 out of 10 recommend, and came back and now we're in this new studio. And I'm like, oh.
Yeah, we built it with you in mind. We're like, we think Crystal will like the white.
Yeah, the white.
We built it.
Thank you.
So first off, guys, I want to break down this one interaction that I saw at Union Station yesterday. Pete Hegseth, J.D. Vance, Stephen Miller, they were all there to hang out with some of the National Guardsmen who've been protecting Union Station.
Eat burgers,
just have a good time, per Trump's executive order to clean up D.C., and that's part of the effort. I live really close to Union Station, so seeing all of these National Guardsmen has been so cool. It's like seeing little toy figurines come to life. But I saw one protester arguing with a cop because he said that her wearing a keffiyeh, which is that scarf that the pro-Palestine people wear, is cultural appropriation. So let's run the video right now. If you're on audio, really the audio is great too because she is loud and proud even without her megaphone. So let's go watch that.
Appropriation by wearing a scarf that is trying to stop a genocide. You think that's appropriating a culture? Okay. In what way? How is that appropriating Palestinian culture? How is my wearing a keffiyeh appropriating Palestinian culture?
Tell me.
You're the one who said it. You're the one who said I was appropriating Palestinian culture by wearing a keffiyeh scarf. I support Palestinians. And so I am appreciating Palestinians. How is wearing a scarf given to me, in fact, by my Palestinian friends, because I stand in solidarity against the genocide?
Wow. Heated moment.
I know. Well, my favorite part was when she was like, my scarf that is trying to stop a genocide. I'm like, oh, that is a very powerful scarf.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And I'm sure you guys have had interactions with people like this too in Union Station in DC, but just initial reactions.
Well, I think it's the double standard, right? Because we hear this all the time of like, oh, like, it almost trends back to like blackface things. But it's like, that's more extreme, obviously. But it's like, okay, you can't have anything that would, mislead people. And like, it's like you're pretending to be another culture. And then, but in this case, it's okay. So it is the picking and choosing that we see over and over from the left, right?
Absolutely.
I think these police officers just want to do their jobs.
Yeah.
I don't think that
They're just sick of being harassed.
care.
Yeah.
Yes,
Leave us
they're-
alone.
They're not like taking to the streets and like, yeah, Trump, let's get it. Like they're literally like, they're in the police force because they like doing badass things. They like doing whatever, just being a
law
dude.
and order.
Yeah. And they're not like, I don't think they're inherently political, but the left always acts like they are. And it's like, this poor guy is like, he's like, I just want to sit in Union Station, like stop bad stuff from happening. Yeah. Then I want to go home to my family at the end of the day. And these people have to make it more than that. And it's like,
But it's just so obnoxious because, these are guys that mostly men in the police force, right? That sign up to do an honorable job, a reliable job. Like, this is a great career. When you're a kid, you everyone's like, oh, what do you want to be? I want to be a cop, a firefighter, a nurse, a doc, whatever it is. Like, that's like one of those staple careers when you're a kid that you're like, we look up to our cops. And how much pestering can you take before you snap and you're like, hey, you're appropriating a culture that's not your own. Also, like, these are the same people that will hold up the Gays for Gaza sign. If you were actually in Gaza,
it's not going to
it would
go
not go well for you.
Not go well for you.
Well, I just really want to know how long she was yelling at him before he spoke up, because I did not see the beginning of that interaction, but he looked so smug, and you can tell he doesn't actually care if she's a white person appropriating this culture, but he just like has this little smug face, and he was like, yeah, that's another thing, where did the term Palestinian come from? And it's just like, I don't really know if police are allowed to like talk back to interact like that, but I'm glad I got to see it, because like, you know what, yeah, like you're saying what most of us are thinking, so I was really enthused to see that. But do you guys have any interactions with protesters, like the really angry ones here in DC?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I've had plenty because, you know, like as a journalist, you cover lots of protests in DC, which there are plenty of. And I will say, tiny rabbit trail, I do actually sometimes just appreciate seeing the protests, because even though they're annoying and all of that, it reminds me how insanely blessed we are. And I'm like, if only they could recognize how insanely blessed that they are, that they get to protest freely in a free country. What a gift. This is actually
work.
Awesome.
Like, how did you get off your job?
Privileged. But anyway, they don't seem to recognize that part. But yeah, no, I mean, gosh, when you're out there on the streets, and this, as soon as someone realizes like, oh, you're a conservative, at so many of these protests, you're called every name in the book. I've had someone like stalk me before a protest. It can get weird real fast.
You know, it's crazy that you mentioned just like seeing all these people and trying to talk to you. The protesters try to get to talk to you and get you on their side. Actually, yesterday, heading over to Union Station, it was me and Elizabeth Mitchell, our White House correspondent. We were walking there. Some old white lady. Also, it's always the old white ladies. Yeah. She like walks up to us when we're passing by all the tons of police cars and military vehicles, and she was like, does this make you ladies feel safe? And then we both look at her, we're like, yes, actually. And she was like, it makes you feel safe? Like, what? How? We stopped interacting with her. And then she kept bothering us, and I go, deterrence is strength. And then she walks away. She was like, well, I guess if it makes you feel safe. And I'm like, do you not feel safe? I'm like, we are in agreement.
She drove in from like suburban Maryland to protest. So it's out of sight, out of mind for her.
Yeah. No, I'm excited to be able to actually go back to Union Station, because honestly, since COVID, so we work really close to Union Station, obviously, and they have the best restaurants for lunch. But I haven't gone there since COVID, because it's just like,
kind of sketchy.
It's sketchy. Yeah. It's not a pleasant experience.
I made this point yesterday on Twitter. Do you guys remember when President Biden gave a campaign speech last year at Union Station?
Oh my gosh, it was all lit up in red. It was like demonic.
That was at Union Station?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, the thing that struck me about that speech, and I used to live on Capitol Hill, so I used to walk through Union Station every day. And I used to walk on, there's like a tunnel that you can walk through in Union Station. It's very beautiful to get to the metro. And I've always walked on the outside of it through the taxi cars, so I won't get like harassed by the homeless people. And that day I could walk right through Union Station because it was beautiful. They cleaned out all the homeless people. It was spotless. There was police everywhere. And then the day after Biden's speech,
goes back to business as usual.
Yeah. And it was like, and there was no outrage. There wasn't any outrage that the President of the United States cleaned something up just for a backdrop for a speech to make it look so amazing. And then President Trump comes in and he tries to permanently do something and make people feel safe. And there's outrage over that. It's like so backwards. And I think people are forgetting about this Union Station speech because it's just unreal that he did that.
It's very much like Gavin Newsom, Nancy Pelosi cleaning up their city, their state, when some diplomat or some really important foreign person comes and then they just let it happen again. They let all the homeless people come back. And I know it sounds really bad being like, oh, the homeless people are gone, but it's not any better just letting them live
on the streets.
Outside in the streets.
This is like a personal story caveat here to kind of paint the picture because this is something that literally Communist China did. I was 11 years old. I was in China on this like ambassador trip, and it was when they were preparing for the Olympics in Beijing, and they were building walls to hide all of the like slums around where they were building the nest and all the other facilities for the Olympics. They were literally trying to hide the way that they treat their people and their way of life in a communist country. And it's exactly what the left is choosing to do across this country as well. It's just really sad.
I just want to add that you're not supposed to call them homeless people. I learned that this weekend. They're unhoused.
Yes.
So I moved from Capitol Hill because of crime. We had someone attempt to break into our Capitol Hill house. So I moved to Old Town Alexandria where it's safe and nice. And I watched a homeless guy beat up a pedestrian this weekend. And I had to call 911. And I'm like, can you get here? Like, I can't break up this fight. And they're like, what race is the unhoused person? And I'm like, holy crap.
This was in Alexandria?
Yes. Like right near the water. I was like, get here. It was like, there was no urgency. I was so frustrated. So I was texting somebody this morning of power of influence. And I was like, can you start doing this other places too? Because I'm so annoyed.
Let's spread this out a little
Yeah.
bit. Spread it well.
You truly cannot move far enough from DC because it like goes into Northern
spreading.
Virginia. You have to go out into like Loudoun County at this point. And Loudoun County has their host of problems, which I don't know, we can talk about another day. But yeah, the left really cannot be happy about anything. This is their city too. This is mostly their city, as we've seen in the way that DC votes. But they're going to complain about everything. Another thing that they're complaining about this week is the way that Trump has handled his meetings with President Putin, President Zelenskyy, and his summit with all of the European leaders that happened this week. Virginia, you've written about this so much for the Daily Signal, so please break it down for us.
Okay, this is big. And Reagan, I want to get your thoughts because as a White House correspondent, I also want to hear from your perspective. Monday was like insane. And the number of times I heard people say, this is historic. Like, oh my gosh, everyone was talking about this is crazy because you have seven European leaders that really at the drop of a hat flew to the United States, met with President Trump, and were very vocal. That was one of my main takeaways from watching that meeting on Monday was all of these leaders saying more progress has been made in like 2.5 weeks than has been made in 3.5 years, that finally we have people at the table. And it was interesting to see the level of agreement because I think for so long we have watched obviously that epic meeting between Zelenskyy and Trump earlier this year that just exploded, total disagreement, a lot of friction. But now it's like everyone's on the same page. And the number one thing they're on the same page about is that Ukraine needs security guarantees. They need some protection. If they're going to sign a peace deal with Russia, they need to know that in 2 years, Russia's not going to be like, we feel like invading again. We're just going to do that. We're going to run that back. So I contacted a number of foreign policy experts, national security experts, and asked that question, like, what do security guarantees, what does that actually mean? And there's sort of three main buckets that people are talking about. Folks like KT McFarland, the Heritage Foundation's Victoria Coates and Niall Gardner, those that work for organizations that are very pro-Ukraine. So you have like the weapons bucket of if we essentially just give Ukraine like a pretty nice arsenal, that's a big deterrent from Russia. So like that's one option that also ties in a little bit with like the Article 5 stuff, because if there's language that says like, okay, if Russia invades Ukraine again, the U.S. could, if they wanted to, respond with force, not obligating us to, but it's language strong enough that would kind of threaten Russia. Another option is boots on the ground. That would probably be from France and Britain. Trump has been really clear, we're not sending U.S. troops. It is important to understand, though, that if NATO troops essentially are going in from NATO alliance countries, that the U.S. then could be responsible for backfilling some of those positions. So if they're, having to vacate responsibilities in their own countries, we might step up and help them in some ways. So it trickles down. And then the third option, which I think is really fascinating, or component of what this security could mean for Ukraine, was something that Victoria Coates, foreign policy expert here at the Heritage Foundation, raised, and that's border security. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. This is obviously something that's very appealing to the Trump administration. But she was like, security protections are kind of pointless if Putin still has a straight shot right into Ukraine. So that border that Ukraine shares with Russia needs to be fortified. And you can do that through technology. You can do it through troops, but you could even do it through a physical wall.
Build the wall.
Build the wall in Ukraine.
Oh, gosh.
Like, that's fascinating to me. But I would love to hear, Reagan, were you at the White House on Monday for these epic meetings?
I wasn't. I'm not going to give away my secrets on how I do my White House job, but I figured out pretty well what events are worth poking around the White House at and which ones are better to watch from afar.
Interesting.
This one I felt was best just with how crazy it is to watch from afar. It's so chaotic when foreign press comes.
Okay. I want your thoughts on this real fast. This is a hot take. Okay. So obviously Fox News, they do great reporting. Ducey, excellent at his job. If I was a White House reporter in the Oval Office with Ducey, I would have been so frustrated on Monday because I think he asked about 5 questions. He was not sharing the floor.
I was like, is this the same Peter as
It's
last
almost
time?
like he
Peter
has
Ducey,
no
excuse me,
choice.
sorry.
The president is looking at him and he's like, Peter. And President Trump does a really good job of going basically down the line and calling on everybody in the room, or if you can make eye contact with him. And there are reporters that he knows very well, like Peter Ducey. And so what happened there, from my understanding, I've been in there with Peter Ducey before, and Trump is like, I'm going to give essentially Peter 5 questions,
Yeah.
and then I'll get to the rest of you, and then I'm going to come back to Peter.
That's exactly what he did.
Peter's also like 6'3" and has a very deep voice, and it's hard to compete with that.
Yeah.
Like I can yell loud, but I'm going to be screaming at the president of the United States. So there's like only so much I can do.
Yeah.
Well, Europeans are not a tall bunch, so I feel like with the press pool, he really just sticks out over that anyway.
Yeah,
so.
totally. But I do want to say on the White House, the Zelenskyy stuff, the White House, I feel like I'm going to regret saying this, but I think things have been rather quiet at the White House since Monday, which is rare, which I think means Trump is cooking.
Yeah.
I don't think we've seen from Trump. We've talked to Trump very much. He hasn't made a public appearance since Monday, really.
Interesting.
He's been
Very
truthing a lot.
Yeah.
JD Vance has been out
Yes.
on the trail, stirring
Yes.
things up, keeping people engaged and entered.
Which kind of tells me that there is a lot of sensitive stuff that's going on behind the scenes that he probably can't talk about, and he's probably working the phones. And so we saw this huge day on Monday, which I think was a great step forward. And now it's like Trump's back in the Oval Office. He's cooking something up. And so that I really think that is a good indication that we're getting somewhere.
It reminds me of something that Marco Rubio said this past week in an interview, I think on Fox News, but he was just like, do you guys really think that we're going to tell the whole world our sensitive information? Like, I'm sorry you are saying it's not transparent right now, but like, that's just genuinely how you make deals. And like, after the fact, we can let you in on it.
Yeah.
But like, are you stupid? Like, we're not going to tell the whole world on your news show because you asked what exactly is going on behind the scenes right
When
now.
it was a Sunday show that Marco Rubio was on this past weekend, where they were trying to say all these European leaders are showing up on Monday because they're trying to run interference and like prevent Trump from being a bully. And it's Marco Rubio was like, we've been talking to these people for weeks, for months, for like years. We all want peace. Our goal is peace in Ukraine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are you on?
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Read the room.
Well, and I think one of the factors too that I was fascinated to learn as I just dug into the topic more this week was China and China's role here. And I spoke to Gordon Chang, who's a regular on Fox News China expert. And he was like, you really can't underestimate China's role here and the pressure that they might be applying to Russia behind the scenes, because China actually wants the war to continue because they're scared if it all gets resolved that then the U.S. will put more focus on China. They'll have more time to focus on the threat that China is. So it's to China's benefit just to keep this war funded and rolling on. It's like, that is crazy, but totally makes sense. Like, there's so many factors at play that the president right now is sorting through.
Yeah, that's a great point. I didn't really think about that. I want to add something too, I think, to like the security guarantees that you mentioned.
Yeah.
The president has ruled out boots on the ground, but he hasn't ruled out boots in the air, essentially, which is American soldiers, American planes, it sounds like, in the air, which I think is going to be a really interesting question for the administration to answer if they do go forward with that, because I think that is... How does that square with America First? I think will be something that they'll hear from their base very often. And so I'm curious what they're going to do on that front, how they're going to kind of navigate this issue. But I did think it was a positive development for President Trump and his base to say, boots on the ground, no. Boots in the air, maybe. We'll see.
Yeah, that's a big deal. Well, Reagan, I want to hear more about your experience at the White House here in a second, and since we've had you back on. But for all of our audience listening, if you love getting the news, you love staying up on what is happening, make sure that you are subscribed to the Daily Signal Top News in 10 podcast that comes out every single weekday morning. Our colleague, Tony Kennett, hosts that podcast, and it's just a great, real fast rundown. This is the news you need to know. These are the insights of what is happening today. It sets you up for success. So if you want even more great content throughout the week from the Daily Signal, check out the Daily Signal's top news in 10. But Reagan, I was thinking back, it's been maybe like 3 months since we've had you on the show. And the last time we spoke, it was like, okay, you're adjusting to the pace of a Trump White House. Since we spoke, you've ridden on Air Force One, you had that crazy experience. Now that like you're in the thick of it, we're like, gosh, 7 months in?
8.
Wow.
Yeah, 8.
Yeah. Oh,
8
wow.
to today. It's the 20. Yeah.
Wow.
Oh,
okay.
yeah.
Amazing.
That's insane. So what have been some of like the key highlights, key moments for you since you became a White House correspondent under specifically President Trump?
First, without a doubt, I got my ashes on Ash Wednesday in front of Air Force Two with JD Vance.
Oh, that's cool.
In El Paso, Texas.
Nice. It's amazing.
That's epic.
It was unbelievable. I said to them, am I going to get my ashes? They told me, yes, we'll get you back in time. Trip gets delayed. They're not going to get me back in time. I'm like, I haven't missed an Ash Wednesday in my 25 years of life. Are you kidding me? And we're like getting on Air Force Two. We're on the tarmac and I see a priest and I'm like,
Yes.
no way. And I said to the team, like, please. And they were like, right after he goes, we'll run you up there. So that was really, really special. Elon Musk, was one of my highlights. And right at 100 days, they brought in about maybe 10 or 12 mainstream media reporters and me to the Roosevelt Room. And we sat down with Elon Musk for an hour and we just talked to him. And it was, I really felt like I got to know Elon Musk in that conversation. He came in like giggling and he wanted to tell jokes and he's divulging how he's been sleeping in the Lincoln bedroom and Trump will text him and say, hey, go get some ice cream from the fridge
Yes,
downstairs.
I
He'll
remember
eat a
this.
tub of ice cream. And then 2 weeks later, I was in the press conference in the Oval Office with Elon Musk when Trump was saying goodbye to him and, you know, get to see him again before he has this giant meltdown. And I asked him, what do you think is harder, making the government efficient or colonizing Mars? And I was serious and I thought it was funny. And because I thought there's a chance that he says making the government efficient. He did say colonizing Mars. And my third, of course, would be riding on Air Force One.
Yeah.
And things are so busy, as you mentioned, at the Trump White House. So I never got to do a food review. I really wanted to do a food review on Air Force One.
I heard
because
nothing but good things.
You can do it here right now. Let's do this food review.
I'll say the vanilla lattes on Air Force Two is the best vanilla latte I've ever had. Air Force One, it's a much bigger plane. It's much fancier than Air Force Two. We had a steak salad. That was, it was the best steak. It was flavorful. It's like so good. And then if you're like still hungry, there's snacks in the back. There's candy, mints, whatever, all for the press. And then we had a fruit tart on our way. We were going to Iowa for a 4th of July celebration. It's the best fruit tart I've ever had. I kept talking about it. I was like, do you guys think this is really good? And when you're around the mainstream media, they're like, it's like not special
Boring,
to them.
yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, can I have another? That was so great.
Are you going to finish yours?
On the way back, we had these like chicken pot pie nuggets or something. It was like a little midnight snack because we came back pretty late, and a key lime pie.
Nice.
And I was like, come on.
Classy.
Also amazing. The New York Times reporter I was with ordered a beer. And I was like, oh, I'd really love to say I had a beer on Air Force One. Yeah. But I was like so nervous that Trump was going to come back and I'd be like drinking a beer and he'd be like, wait. So,
you want one too?
Yeah. When you ride Air Force One for the first time, they also give you a little goodie bag. And so there's like a fact sheet in there about like the plane that you rode. Where has it been? And then there is a box of M&Ms and they're in a matchbox. And Ronald Reagan... or up until Ronald Reagan, they used to give out cigarettes. And then Ronald Reagan was like, we're not giving out cigarettes anymore. But Nancy Reagan really loved the look of the matchboxes. So they were like, we'll keep the matchboxes. Ronald Reagan likes candy. We'll put M&Ms inside. But to keep in the spirit of the cigarettes, they now give out a little set of matches that say,
oh, that's cute.
Air Force One.
That's cool.
And then, of
That's
course,
so
I
cute.
just got my certificate in the mail
Yes,
that says
congrats.
I rode on Air
I
Force
know, I
One.
saw that on your
Yeah.
Instagram, and I was like, you guys, we have to talk about that today. I'm like, it's so
we,
cute.
We have the photos. We're going to put the photo up.
Okay, cool.
That's so glamorous and so fun. And I'm really like, was there anything that you ate that wasn't that good?
No, I don't
was all
think
good.
so.
All Michelin
actually,
star.
I will say the dressing for the salad I didn't really like, and I was like, "Is this ranch? Like, what is this?" But you're like, it
Small
tastes
things,
good because it's You want to
where you're
complain.
Trump, if you're listening, I hope you are. Take
Get
that.
the dressing right.
But some of the more unglamorous parts, so I've heard, is the White House press room, the briefing room every few days with Caroline Leavitt. I mean, it's so cool, and I love getting to hear your questions up there, but I've also heard it's like brutal trying to get your seat, getting there early. So like, what is that process like?
Well, so the Daily Caller has had a seat in the briefing room for a number of years. We're very blessed to have had that, and that has come from the long line of impressive White House correspondents that have come behind me and all the relations they've been able to work with the WHCA and the White House. So we're in the back row. And during the Biden administration, Karine Jean-Pierre, she called on those first 3 rows. The only time I got called on, it was like a snowstorm. Snowstorm. It was like an inch of snow. No one showed up. I got to move up to like the first couple of rows, and I got a question because she ran out of people to call on. Now it's like I'm in this back row. Caroline Leavitt obviously knows who I am, but there are so many people, and I'm there. Everyone has their hand raised, and I'm like, she can't even see me. So I sit now on a booster seat. It's like this thick, and it kind of raises me above everybody else. Yeah, and you like kind of lift yourself out of your seat. You lean forward a little bit. You start to yell. It is the decorum has fallen. People are like, it turns like she takes like 3 questions, and then if she calls on like a general corner of the room, 7 people will be like, "Thank you, Caroline," and then it's like it's craziness. Yeah, I don't know how you solve that. I know a lot of people are irritated with it. I don't know. I'm like, it's ultimately a good thing. It was like so quiet and boring during the Biden administration, but it is the being within the White House. I know that there were like some mice running around a couple weeks ago.
Wait, like actual mice?
Yeah. It's like not. Yeah.
I mean, that's not unlike the rest of DC.
No, I guess, yeah.
We need to get
Mice
Eric
don't
Adams.
realize that they're not allowed in there.
The Wi-Fi, horrible. Like,
Of
there's
course,
like
where all the
still
media is.
things, and you don't want to complain too much because you like are in the White House, you know? But it is like, oh, there's a little rodent. Oh, there's birds swooping down on Peter Ducey's hair. The vending machine's never stocked. And there's like little things like that where you're like, this is kind of like exhausting.
Yeah.
Charming.
What's your take on the new Ballroom edition?
Oh, yeah. I love talking about the Ballroom. When you have a state dinner at the White House, it's on the South Lawn because there's no room in the White House that's big enough to host all these people. And so they put up a tent, like when you would have for like a high school graduation and I think that's so wrong. This is the White House. This is the most important place in the entire world. And you are hosting, well, aside from the Holy Land, I should say, like, most important political place in the entire world. And that's where you're putting, this is like what it looks like. It's this like kind of dinky tent. Yeah, I think it's so weird. And so I love the fact that they're building the Ballroom. It absolutely needs to happen. You should come to the White House and it should be like, whoa. Wow. And it's being privately funded. It's not like we, the taxpayer, are funding for it or paying for it. And even if we were, there are so many ridiculous things that our taxpayer dollars go for. Too. Like,
So true.
So I hate the outrage of it. It's like the same thing. There was a bunch of outrage over the flagpoles. I'm like, what is wrong with you people? So that's how I feel. I welcome it, and I hope that they get on
done
it.
quick.
Yeah.
There's so much outrage over everything, and I do think that is a huge part of why the Democrats are so unpopular right now. There's just such fatigue, Democrat fatigue. Everyone's like, oh, there's like protester fatigue or feminist fatigue. And I'm like, no, it's just generally liberal fatigue. And Crystal was actually showing me before this a really cool, well, I think it's cool. They probably wouldn't agree. A New York Times, of all places, put out an article saying that the Democrats' voter registration is down across the board, across all states. We can actually throw up the clip here of that map, but we'll show everyone here as well. It's crazy.
Yeah.
No one likes them.
So the Democrat Party is hemorrhaging voters like crazy, like every single state. It's insane. And you can see on the map, it's like, I don't know if you've seen this yet, Reagan, but I'll show you while we're sitting here. But you see this reaction to, honestly, a focus on really poor policy priorities, right?
Yeah.
And the number of new voters nationwide since 2018 is dramatically in the Republican Party's favor. And so there's this kind of question, right? And this is the New York Times. So it probably took a lot for them to like swallow in order to put this out and be like, well, the data's the data. We can't really fight this.
Yeah.
But you see, we'll talk about this, like the cosplay of people like Travis Kelce and Gavin Newsom in trying to be cool, and the study that the Democrats funded to understand white men and things like this. And it's just like, have they totally lost it?
Yeah.
I mean, clearly
Absolutely.
voters are not keeping up with them.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think, yes, at the moment they've lost it, and you can never be comfortable, right? Like, this is the lesson of politics, is you can never be like, oh, yay, like, Republicans and conservatives have won, and, like, we're in the clear. Like, no, it's a constant fight. It's a constant battle, and there's a lot of money going into fixing this map. Like, Democrats are looking at this. They're like, okay, we have time.
Yeah.
3 years is a long time to get it together for the next presidential election, and they are not going to rest until they see a change in this trend.
So is their current strategy working?
Absolutely not. It's so crazy, but I can't help but think they're saying that their strategy is like,
I don't even know, like, do they even have a strategy?
Well, like they started
copying
trying.
us.
They tried this with the Kamala Walsh campaign, right? Where they started trying to play Tim Walz up as this like Midwest normal guy with the camo hats that they put out for the campaign and things like this. They're super relatable and normal. They obviously are not. But it's kind of dovetailed. Like I said, I was off the grid last week, so I missed the GQ shoot that Travis Kelce did, where he's like in the swamp. He's like on an ATV wearing this like fur coat. I'm like, it's giving Macklemore thrift shop vibes to me. I'm like, you're trying
we need
so
to put
hard.
these pictures up.
We'll put these pictures up, but
Yeah.
it's such a stretch. And I'm like, of all people, Travis Kelce, they're trying to like take this masculine NFL player with a wildly successful career. He's obviously with Taylor Swift, which is a whole other dynamic, and say like, this is blue collar-esque. It's just not relatable.
I actually don't think that cosplaying conservatives is like as a concept a bad idea. Like because we've seen like Gavin Newsom, for example, or Pete Buttigieg kind of start to move towards the middle, and that's like that was the lesson of the 2024 election. The American people are normal. They don't want the far left policies. They're shifting towards the right. And so it would be, I think, smart on the left to start to shift towards the right. And so like trying to be like, what's normal? Like what do normal people want is like what they should be doing. But they're like almost like swinging back the other way where they're like trying to wear it as a costume. They're like, oh, I'm going to go like fishing and do something that's unnatural,
like rugged
and, it's like,
and normal, but
just
not.
be authentic. And I think that's actually something the right does really well, is they're just authentic and real and like, oh, this is what we are like, and they wear that on their sleeves. And so it's like, and I think the left doesn't understand that. They think they have to like put on this costume of what conservatives are. But the whole concept of like trying to move to the right or emulate that a little bit more is something that they should
There's something there.
tap. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, it's been 10 years since there's been like a normal leftist, but after Obama 2.0, especially in reaction to Trump, we just saw it get worse and worse, and the very vocal progressive minority of the left really shaped the way that people think of them, for better or for worse. So I do see what you're saying, but I'm just like, I just don't even know if they know what a normal liberal looks like anymore. And
Do they know what
can they invent that? As far as I'm concerned, it's not Harry Sisson and all these people. But
Have you seen it? This is my message. I DM'd with Harry Sisson a little bit
did
recently
he slide in?
because he was on the Adam Friedland show. He's a comedian. He's like super far left comedian, and he just ran circles around Harry, and Harry couldn't be normal. Like he like asked him about Baby Grok hitting on Livy Dunn.
Yeah.
And he was like, couldn't answer the question. Was like, dude, just be a guy. Be like, yeah, like Livy Dunn's hot. I don't
they
know.
tried
Like
to make
anything.
him the guy, like
Yes.
the normal 22-year-old guy who's a little promiscuous, like all the conservative like frat bros, and it's like, no, that's just fun.
Yeah. And Harry DM'd me about it, and I we'll keep most of it private, but I was like, come do an interview with me. And we haven't set it up. And I want him to do an interview because I think you just need to be authentic. And Harry Sisson, if you just like let down his walls and was a guy, that's like so more relatable for Democrats than just being like so in your box and your talking points that you can't react to the culture things that are going on. And the right is dominating culture now. And that's where the left, they just can't catch up.
Yeah, my big conspiracy theory, and we can get back to Travis Kelce after this because I know we want to
talk about Travis.
But my big conspiracy about all of this is they're trying out all these things in public with Gavin Newsom, Travis Kelce, Harry Sisson, just the way that everyone's reacting. In the background, they're listening to all the conservative commentary ad nauseum because they know that we're all talking about it on shows like this, bigger shows, and they're quietly taking notes. And this is how they're doing their field research. They're like outraging us and trying all these things, then seeing what we're saying. We're like, oh, that's not going to work, and we don't like this. And they're like, okay, well, I'm going to write that down. So that's what I think they're doing. But no, Travis Kelce, actually, I did like the photo shoot. Reminded me of Lana Del Rey's husband. Hot take. When he wore the little yellow neon vest, I'm like, okay, it's giving Trump at that one rally. I just felt like it was little bit. It was a little like extended beyond reality. Like I don't think they were trying to make him look very relatable. I thought they were like,
it's GQ, so it's like high fashion, right?
Yeah,
more or less. So you're like, okay, you kind of expect high fashion stuff to be a little weird out there, a little weird.
It felt a
but
little
it's
strange for him.
Yeah,
because like, why are you wearing a safety vest in the ocean like this? But I don't know.
Why would you not?
I had fun with it, and I'm just glad that they're not putting him in a skirt. Like
that's
fair. Okay, so it's money. I'm just gonna say it. Like he probably got a really nice paycheck from doing that shoot, and he's dating, in my opinion, the most brilliant businesswoman of our generation. I mean, like Taylor Swift or not, the woman is brilliant. And so he got this opportunity, and she was like, you get to essentially wear costumes and get a giant paycheck at the end of it. Like, why would you not do this? It's totally on track with who they are.
I don't know if anyone on the left is seeing that and being like, wow, that's a blue collar man right there. Because it is GQ at the end of the day. But I was here for it. I mean, he's attractive. And we talked about this last week with Emily Jashinsky, but she was like, he is the embodiment of toxic masculinity in the left's parameters. So the fact that he was dressing up in this conservative costume, I don't think was them pandering to the left or to the right. But I do think the fact that Travis Kelce is so prominent right now and dating Taylor Swift, that is the more subtle, like, okay, vibe shift, culture shift to the right. Like, the left is accepting with open arms this toxic masculine man. Hot take.
She's so wise. That's a great take.
You know who doesn't give off like toxic masculine energy, but just toxic though? Gavin Newsom. He reminds me of Patrick Bateman from American Psycho. I don't trust that man. Freaks me out.
Well, so the annoying thing is, right now, like his whole team is like, oh, like we're doing all these memes and everything to like in the Trump style to show like Trump how ridiculous he looks. I'm like, no, you're doing it because it freaking works. Like, you're doing it because it's an effective messaging campaign. And right now, everyone is viewing Gavin Newsom as a very, very likely Democrat candidate for 2028. And so they're testing it out. They're saying, does this actually work? Should we do more of this? Please, it is not a holier than thou moment at all. They're testing strategy.
100%, right? And it's like they have since Elon bought X, or Twitter, and renamed it X, they've been complaining time and again that X is now this conservative pro-MAGA echo chamber. And so by modeling all of their content after President Trump, it's like, you're not fooling anyone. This is exactly what you're doing. And also, please keep pushing Gavin Newsom on the left and on your party, because if you look at the state of California, there's been a mass exodus for years. It's become a completely failed state, and people are sick of it. Everyone I grew up with that still lives there, they're desperate to find a way out. It's tough because this is your home. It's where you grew up. Like, you may still have family, or there's like legacy there, right? And it's really sad to have to like abandon your home. But everyone's like, nope. If this is the direction that the state is going to continue to go,
it seems like they're doubling down, which is just like absolutely insane.
Go back to French Laundry, enjoy your meal, shut the beaches down. What could go wrong?
So sad. Oh, California. Beautiful California. All right. Well, so question of the week. So last week we asked you guys
Like, what's your craziest DC
crime story?
or crime story in general? And you guys actually were not here last week, so I really want to know. We talked about protesters at the top of the show, but like, do you have crime-specific stories? You mentioned your house almost got broken into.
Yeah.
What's your DC crime story?
So when we were on Capitol Hill, not very far from the Heritage Foundation, it was like Saturday morning, and I was like a freak on the Ring camera that we had because I was like so afraid of things happening. And I got a notification like 8 a.m. I wasn't at my house, but I saw a man walk up to our house, look in all of the doors and windows, look around our house, and he's on camera saying, "Damn, she's locked up." And then he like walks away. So I had to file a police report. Yeah. After that, I was like way too spooked. And it was just, I did not feel safe where we were. And I had interned down here while I was in college. And we lived not far away. And we had to call the cops that year too. It was a really stupid thing. And the cops said to us, hey, like when we got the call, we were like, really? Like this area is so good. We never get any calls to this area. So to then a couple years later feel not safe and to have this happen to me and have to have the police come and file a police report, I was like, oh, this is so devastating. So then I ended up moving to Old Town, Virginia, and I've been feeling so awesome. And this week I'm coming back from church. I have to stop in a convenience store, and there's a homeless man loitering outside, and a pedestrian, he gets in the way of a pedestrian, and pedestrian says like, "Where'd you come from? Move," or something like that. It was loud enough that I turned my head and I see the homeless man stare at the pedestrian who's walking away and just start charging after him.
Gosh, terrifying.
And I'm like,
here we go.
You know, I run into CVS and I call 911, and I said earlier on the show, they were annoying. And I'm talking to the workers and they were like, yeah, tell them it's the guy with the crooked neck. They'll know who he is. And I was like, what do you mean? They were like, 2 weeks ago, he did the same thing. He had this outburst. He was angry. He tried to beat up a pedestrian. And they were like this in the street, like punching, like boxing. And they came, arrested him. A couple hours later, dropped him back off. He walked in the CVS and stole something. And now he's standing here beating somebody up again. And I was like, what is this? Like, how did this happen? And it's such a nice area of Virginia where there's so many tourists and the police are constantly around. And I was like, this is just should not be happening.
Yeah.
So,
well, it goes to the issue of prosecutors not prosecuting. Like that is the center of this issue. Like we're not holding criminals accountable for their actions. And that has to change because you're going to keep having the crime. Even the number of times that the police do their job, like the criminal justice system has to do their job too.
press charges.
Yeah, repeat offender story. When I was on H Street.
Oh, why? Why would you do that?
Great question. I was on
Testing
H
your
Street and I was in the Apollo. So like kind of bougie, like above the Whole Foods, like whatever.
I was there today.
And there you go. And I mean, I loved it. Walking distance to work. The whole thing. And that was a couple years ago when one of Rand Paul's staffers was stabbed like a block from my building. And it was late at night, early in the morning. Like it was clear like he had just been coming from the bars. Like, cool, it's like Friday or Saturday or something. Like, awesome. The guy had just hours before been released from prison.
Oh my gosh.
Didn't know this staffer that worked on the Hill, but it was a random attack, like stabbed him multiple times. It was a whole thing. And I was like, time to move to Virginia.
Not wasting
it's
time.
happening.
I used to go when I interned down here to the bars on H Street and walk home without a care in the world with my friends, and we were all together and never thought twice about it. And then I would go to Solid Core right on H Street. And the one day it was like dark. It was only 2 blocks away, but I put on my running vest and I would sprint there because I was like so afraid of the dark. And I have this giant light on my chest and I catch 2 guys breaking into a car. Yes. And they flee. They see my light. It's good deterrence. And I couldn't go after that. I was like too freaked out to go.
It's really like a lifestyle change, right? Like I don't think in DC I've had a personal experience yet, knock on wood. Keyword there. But it's like I also have adjusted my lifestyle to make sure that I avoid situations as much as possible.
No, in general, I'm not a huge city person, but on weekends, like, I don't go into DC to hang out.
Yeah.
I usually go to small towns in Virginia, like an hour and a half away.
Yeah.
I want something quiet and safe.
I was at the Orange Theory this morning on H Street, and I will say this week has been the first time. Oh no, has been the first time I walked to my class and not seen like a dude peeing on the sidewalk. So I'm like, hey. That's a win.
Yeah.
We'll take what we can get.
We'll take what we can get. But for this week's question of the week, I want you guys to all answer this. We have it in our Instagram story. So follow us on Instagram. You can also comment in the comments, but follow us on Instagram for bonus content. Can the Democrats save face with voters? Are they too far gone? What can they do? Just sound off with all of your thoughts on the tragic state of the Democrat Party right now. And
can they save face?
So
and also, like,
excited to hear
can
that.
conservatives keep up the momentum?
Yeah. It's precarious, this power shift, vibe shift.
A lot is on us,
Interesting
guys.
Just enjoy it for
Gals.
now. But thank you, Reagan, so much for joining us. This is so much fun.
Tell us how we can follow all your work.
Absolutely.
Oh, it's Reagan Reese. Super easy. Reagan was named after the president.
Amazing.
I was recently told by one of his staffers that he would have been like so humbled by the fact that someone was named after him. I thought that was really sweet.
That's precious.
Reagan Reese, Twitter, Instagram, Daily Caller website.
Love it.
Of course. All the places.
Yes, we'll drop
Thank you
all
so
of
much.
that in the show notes. So please also go support Reagan and all of her amazing work. You don't want to miss it. And thanks for joining us today. See you next week.
Bye, guys.